Hello and welcome back to another breaking news update. My name is Jimmy Boyd and you are watching Boyd News. I want to thank you so much for tuning in today. I have some breaking news coming out here for you. So we're going to be talking about U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken. So Antony Blinken was recently at the foreign ministers meeting at the Nato headquarters in Brussels, Belgium. So this took place on April 3rd and 4th. Okay, this was the Minister of Foreign Affairs. And so all these NATO members are here, right? And they're discussing apparently about having Ukraine joining NATO. So this is really big news. And we've got video footage of Antony Blinken coming out and saying Ukraine will become a member of NATO. And also Jens Stoltenberg, the Secretary General of NATO, confirming the same thing. So this is really big news now. And I know that Ukraine's been wanting to join NATO for a long time, basically since the beginning of the war. But NATO said no, because you're at war right now. We cannot bring you into NATO. So obviously things are moving along. We're 2 years into this war, and Ukraine is still looking to join NATO. So it begs to ask the question: How is Ukraine going to be able to join NATO when they're at war with Russia, right? For 2 years now, and this war is expected to go on for maybe up to 5 more years. Okay, Secretary General Stoltenberg, Jens Stoltenberg, came out just the other day, and they were announcing like a 100 billion aid package for Ukraine over like the next 5 years or something. So they're expecting this war to really drag on for the next 5 years. It's absolutely insane. Will it actually go on that long? I mean, no one really knows at this point. But obviously, the longer this war goes on without Ukraine getting the aid that they need, they're going to continue to struggle here, and at some point may even have to surrender if they just can't even fight this war anymore because they don't have the supplies that they need. So let's show you a couple videos here. I'm going to be showing you first a video with Antony Blinken. He's here with the foreign minister from Ukraine. So let's take a look at this video real quick, and then I'll have another one for you with Jens Stoltenberg.
Remains rock solid. We will do everything that we can. Allies will do everything that they can to ensure that Ukraine has what it needs to continue to deal with Russia's ongoing aggression against Ukraine, an aggression that gets worse with every passing day. Ukraine will become a member of NATO. Our purpose at the summit is to help build a bridge to that membership and to create a clear pathway for Ukraine moving forward.
But, of course, we believe that Ukraine deserves to be a member of NATO, and that this should happen sooner rather than later.
Remains.
Okay, so there you go. You hear it straight from Secretary of State here, Antony Blinken, coming out and saying that Ukraine is going to be joining NATO. So obviously, the question really here is when, okay? How long will this take? Will this take years? Will this take 6 months? Because we've seen, like, when Sweden and Finland joined, it was pretty much like a fast track process. In many cases, within about a year, they were fully invested into NATO already. So we'll have to see how long this takes for Ukraine to get in. But it's just, how are they going to get them in right now when they're at war? And I just don't see Russia backing off here. If anything, I see them escalating their attacks even further on Ukraine, and it's going to be very interesting to see how this war ends. Will they actually be able to get to some sort of peace deal here? And is Ukraine going to have to give up some territory, or what's going to happen? We'll have to really see how things play out here. But obviously, Ukraine can't join NATO right now, because if they were to join NATO, that would draw NATO into the conflict. So that's very interesting that they're even talking about that right now. But I think what they're doing at the moment is just getting the foundation set for Ukraine to join, and also send a message to Russia that NATO's not messing around, the United States not messing around, and they want to make sure that Ukraine stays independent from Russia, and that Russia does not take over Ukraine. I think that's what the real message is here to Vladimir Putin. So let me show you this as well. This is a clip here from Jens Stoltenberg, the Secretary General of NATO. So take a look at this too.
Today we will have a meeting on the NATO Ukraine Council. I look forward to discussing with you how we can further strengthen our cooperation, but also how we can move you towards membership in NATO. Allies have made clear that Ukraine will become a member of the alliance, and we need to ensure that is something we are following up. We will also discuss, as we also did at the foreign ministerial meeting yesterday, how we can step up and sustain our support for Ukraine, because it also matters for our own security.
I don't want to spoil the party, but of course my message, the birthday party, but my main message today will be patriots, because saving Ukrainian lives, saving Ukrainian economy, saving Ukrainian cities depends on the availability of patriots and other air defense systems in Ukraine. And we're talking about patriots because it's the only system that can intercept ballistic missiles. And only in March, Ukraine was hit with 94 ballistic missiles. But providing patriots depends on allies. They have plenty of them. So this will be my main focus today, and I'm looking forward to the discussion that we will be having with allies. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, and there you have it. So, Secretary General of NATO, Jens Stoltenberg, reaffirming that Ukraine will be joining the alliance. Okay, so this is really big, and apparently a lot of the other members are okay with it as well. They want Ukraine to become a member of NATO. But again, I asked a question: how soon is this going to happen? Obviously, this war in Ukraine has to end, or has to come to some sort of close in order for that to happen. And whenever I've been looking at the landscape here of what's happening in Ukraine with Russia, I just don't see a good outcome here. And I don't see Russia backing off. I don't see Ukraine being okay with ceding a bunch of territory to Russia when it was obviously taken away from them, forcefully taken away from them through military conflict. So this is obviously a very controversial thing and a very difficult situation to resolve. It's just going to be very interesting how they're going to be able to do this. So we'll have to see. Time will tell as more information comes out as we move along this path of Ukraine actually becoming a member of NATO. So I just want to go over some quick details here real quick on the Hill too. Ukraine will become a member of NATO. It says here, Secretary of State Antony Blinken reaffirmed the U.S. commitment for Ukraine to eventually join NATO, but held back commitments ahead of the alliance annual summit, which will take place in Washington in July. Ukraine will become a member of NATO. Our purpose at the summit is to help build a bridge to that membership, Blinken told reporters Thursday in Brussels. NATO allies agreed at the 2023 summit in Vilnius, Lithuania, that Ukraine can join NATO when certain conditions are met. So this was last year, I think in July. But sparked criticism from Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky and Baltic allies for failing to set concrete goals and a timeline for Kyiv to join the alliance. So I think that's kind of where they're at right now still too, is there is no timeline set. Okay, so Ukraine's supporters are crafting ways to demonstrate robust international support for Kyiv that can be announced at NATO's Washington summit, marking the 75th anniversary of the alliance. The deliverables are consequential amid concerns over waning U.S. commitment to support Ukraine, with House Republicans holding up additional American assistance and fears that the return of former President Trump to the White House could see a retreat from the U.S. from its commitments to allies and partners. So that's a big one too, right? Is if former President Trump ends up getting back into the White House, this is going to change the game big time too, because obviously Trump has very different views on NATO and the Ukraine war and all these different things than Biden does. So this will completely change the way the U.S. Supports this war going on over here, and this will definitely make some different things happen. Okay, so finally, I want to show you one last thing here, which I thought was very, very interesting information. And I don't know for sure if this is something NATO is going to be doing, but this is a post on X from Nexta. Okay, and it says here, NATO is discussing the possibility of admitting Ukraine to the alliance in exchange for secession of territories to Russia. So this is from La Repubblica, which is a news outlet. Okay, so it says, although this option is not an official position, it is being discussed informally and is becoming increasingly realistic, especially in the light of upcoming U.S. elections. So if this is true, if this is something that they actually are considering, would this be how they would get Ukraine in? Would they be like, hey, Just give up the regions that Russia's already taken. Let them have Crimea. Let them have the eastern side of Ukraine, and we'll just kind of end this war. You guys join NATO, and then that'll be the end of it. And then the eastern side of Ukraine that's been taken away from Ukraine and given to Russia. Would that be that buffer zone? I guess that Russia's kind of been wanting. We'll have to see. As the newspaper points out, Russia will be offered to retain Crimea and all the territories that were captured over the past 2 years. Then the borders will be fixed, and Ukraine will be accepted into NATO. This scenario, according to journalists, is reminiscent of the situation after World War II, when Germany was divided into eastern and western parts. So the article indicates that such a scenario would speed up the release of aid to Kiev, which is currently blocked in Congress, especially in anticipation of Trump's possible return to the White House. So they keep bringing this up a lot about Trump. And that's why I wonder, like, this year is going to be very key when it comes to Ukraine. A lot of weird things are going to happen. There's going to be a lot of unacceptable things happening, a lot of things changing, and changing rapidly too, because there's a very short timeline, especially if Trump is able to get back in the White House. Like I said, this will definitely change the playing field here when it comes to Ukraine. And he's also come out publicly many times and said that he has a plan to basically end this war in Ukraine with Russia in 24 or 48 hours or something like that. So this is definitely going to be very interesting as time goes on here. We may see some crazy stuff coming out from Russia and Ukraine, but in the meantime, they're just going to keep bombing each other, I think. And I know Ukraine right now is building up their supply of drones, and they're going to be smashing Russia like crazy here over the next few months and leading into the rest of the year. So this will be very interesting to see how this plays out with Ukraine trying to join NATO. Would that be a scenario that would be likely where they would actually give up some territory and join NATO? I mean, I just don't see Russia being okay with that either. And I see Russia wanting to completely take over Ukraine because they don't even want them to become part of NATO. Wasn't that part of the reason why Russia invaded them to begin with? I want to say that was at least part of it. Maybe not all of it, but at least a piece of it, right? So let me know what you think down below. Share your thoughts and opinions regarding this story. This is very important and interesting information that I wanted to share with you. So share your thoughts and opinions down below in the comment section. If you got something out of this update, please smash the like button. And also, if you enjoy my content, please consider subscribing down below. Hit the notification bell. That way YouTube can notify you. And with that, I hope you all have a great day. Everybody take care and God bless. And we'll see you in the next one.